following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. 98 FM. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Monday morning. Good morning. How are you today? Monday, the 9th day of April 2018. This is Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dubliners, where we discuss and debate the issues of the day with you. The show is about you and your opinions. If it's happening in Dublin, we'll be covering it on 98 FM's Dublin Talks. If you want to get in contact with us, you can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98, or you can call us on 6797 981. Now, in a few minutes, I'll be bringing you some shocking figures that show just how many Irish 8-year-olds own a smartphone. You'll be shocked by this, I have to tell you. We'll be telling you some of the things that people are still embarrassed about doing alone. And just before 11, we'll be crossing live to the Halfpenny Bridge in the city centre, where a war of words has erupted over the Dubs banner, which is draped across the bridge. Been there since before the league final last week. And, well, a lot of people unhappy about it. We'll be debating that a little bit later on. And this has annoyed a lot of people. Irish doctors want pregnant women tested for alcohol. Yep. I'll explain that whole story to you later on. And if there's anything you'd like to bring up on the programme, let us know. Email us, dublintalks@98fm.com, or send us a private message on Facebook, facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. From now until midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy, and this is our esteemed show producer, Jeremy Dixon.
Yes, we have a lot of stuff to get through, so let's not beat around the bush. And as you were saying, Adrian, if there's something that we're not talking about that you want to talk about, do let us know. It's amazing, Adrian, the things that are important in some people's lives. And I'm just reading a comment there that was posted on Facebook. Will you please talk about Kylie Jenner's post-baby body? So that's obviously an issue that's important to that person. I don't know if did you see the pictures in the news over the week?
No. Not interested.
You're not interested in her?
More important things going on in my world.
The only thing I will say it does, it puts women under an awful lot of pressure. All these celebrities, Adrian, you know that within like a day of giving birth, they have their perfect figure back, and they're posting these photographs on social media of their perfect figure. And it puts women under an awful lot of pressure, doesn't it, to lose the post-baby weight?
It does.
Because all these women have trainers and nutritionists and dietitians and stuff like that. They're not up doing night feeds and stuff like that. So there you go. To that person, we have dealt with your issue. We're happy that she has her body back after giving birth. Thank you.
I couldn't give a damn.
What?
I couldn't care less.
Do you know how many followers that woman has on Twitter?
Yes, quite a lot.
Compared to you?
Let's get on to more important matters. That whole McGregor saga has lasted the whole weekend. He's obviously he's back home. He got bail. Did he actually come home?
Yes, I think he's back in the country.
I know he left America, but did he actually come back to Ireland?
Sure, where else would he be going?
I don't know. Doesn't he go to Iceland for training and stuff? I don't know. But did he actually arrive home to Ireland? I don't know.
If anybody knows where he actually is, well, he was he posted $50,000 bail, which I thought was going to be more, given how much money.
50 grand is still a lot of money.
Do you get that back? I've never understood bail. How do you get it back?
I think you do if you turn up and all that. Yeah.
Well, you'd be a silly man not to turn up.
Exactly. Anyway, Connor's dad took to social media over the weekend. He has backed his son Connor after the recent bus attack and his arrest. McGregor could be facing prison time after being charged with 3 counts of assault and 1 of criminal mischief in New York. Connor's dad, Tony, who lives in Lucan, is sticking by his son despite the recent trouble. Posting on Instagram on Sunday, Tony put up a picture with Connor of the pair looking very dapper a couple of months ago. He captioned the photograph, "DNA, it's who we are." Now, he received a great reaction for the picture, with many followers coming out in support of the McGregors. His dad isn't the only one backing him, as Connor has had huge support from celebrities around the world since his outburst. Justin Bieber and Chris Brown were two of the big names who came out in support of the UFC fighter.
Here's the thing about Conor McGregor. I put this up on my own social media over the weekend and got an awful lot of grief about it. And what I said was, excuse me, that Conor McGregor, Adrian, could literally tomorrow drive his car down Grafton Street doing 120 kilometres an hour, knock over 10 grannies, yeah?
Yep.
Knock over 10 grannies and probably a couple of kids as well and whatever else. And people would still say, sure, he's a legend. Sure, he used to be on the dole. Sure, isn't he working class? It's almost the excuse this behaviour. And by the way, to those of you who think that Conor McGregor, there seems to be this perception. I don't hate Conor McGregor, by the way. I think he's a bit of a gobshite, but I don't hate him. But there seems to be this perception, doesn't he, that Conor is a rags to riches story and that he grew up with like plastic bags tied around his feet for shoes. He didn't have the disadvantaged upbringing that a lot of people think he had. He wasn't from the slums.
No, he wasn't from the slums, no.
You know what I mean?
I'd love to know, does anybody know what his dad meant by that? DNA, it's who we are. That's what he put up on with a photograph of himself and Conor. I'd love to know what he actually meant by that.
Yeah, how do you translate that? What do you think that means? Text us or WhatsApp 087 798 98 98. What did he mean by, what was the exact quote by him again?
DNA, it's who we are.
Now, you've met that man before, haven't
I have,
you?
yeah.
The Conor's dad.
Yeah, a nice man Tony is, I have to say. But I'd love to know what he means by that that message.
Is it the typical thing? My little Johnny.
No,
My little Johnny wouldn't do anything wrong.
I think we all stand by our kids no matter what they do.
No, you don't.
Well, I would. You may not.
So if your son murdered somebody, you'd stand by
maybe
them?
not, but you stand by your children, don't you?
Yeah, I think there comes a point where you have to say, here's how I've been thinking about the Conor McGregor thing all weekend, as I'm sure most of you have, and talking about it among your friends and stuff. And here's what I believe about the Conor McGregor thing. I think he's surrounded by the wrong people. He's surrounded by people who are giving him bad advice. He's surrounded by people who don't have the guts, I suppose, to turn around and say, Conor, you're acting like an arse. Behave yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, what's that old story that used to learn us as kids? Where the king wasn't wearing any clothes and everybody was afraid to tell him that he wasn't wearing any clothes. So was I the only person I was told that story?
So the king was wearing no clothes?
There's a moral story that we were told as kids. Were you never told this story?
About a king wearing no clothes? No, I wasn't.
Okay, it's a story about this king. I'll be brief with you. It's a king, and he was ruling over his people, okay?
Yeah.
And the king was a bit mad, okay? But every one of his followers was afraid to tell him he was mad. And every day the king would go down the main street on his horse, completely naked, because he was mad. But nobody had the guts to say to the king, you need to put some clothes on. No.
I have no idea what story you're talking about. None whatsoever.
Okay, maybe I just made that up. No, I think that is a story. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that Conor has surrounded himself with people who are not a good influence. Probably people who are hangers-on and people who are egging him on to, go on over, throw a trolley at the bus. So he needs some guidance. And in fairness, it's not the job of his parents. The man is 29 years old.
He's 30, is he not?
No, he's 29.
Is he?
30 later on this year.
DNA, it's who we are, is what his dad Tony put up on Instagram. Stand by your blood, it's pretty obvious, says one message. Somebody else saying he should be sacked from the UFC. He ruined the UFC and they should wash their hands of him. Although I was interested, you may remember the recording we played on Friday of UFC President Dana White, and he was vicious. He was vicious.
Yeah, he's changed his tune in the last 72 hours, hasn't he?
24 hours later, he changed his tune. He said, myself and Conor talked. It's good. I think there's a mutual respect between us. I had so many things thrown at me this week to focus on. This show was insane. We'll get back and we'll focus on Conor McGregor.
Yep, it's just like the king. No clothes, and nobody had the guts to say to him, King, you're not wearing any clothes.
Why would you... So what king ever went around with no clothes on?
Okay, say our boss. You know our boss in here that you're terrified of. You know the one that you're intimidated by, yeah?
All of them.
Okay, the main boss who you're intimidated by.
Scared shitless of him, yeah.
If he came in today just in his underpants, would you turn around and say anything to him?
No.
Why?
I just wouldn't.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Everybody's afraid to tell Connor, you need to cop on to yourself. You need to start behaving like an adult man.
Oscar, you've a theory as to what Tony McGregor meant. DNA, it's who we are.
Definitely, yes.
Yes, go on. What do you think it is?
Well, that is part of the Roma origin, the gypsy community, that they kind of change, that they can take over the UFC, basically. That's how I feel.
I'm sure you do feel that way, but I've no idea what that means.
I don't myself.
Basically, I believe that, Connor is, part of the traveling community.
No, he's not, is he?
Well, I believe he is, so that's why when he said DNA...
Adrian, can you confirm or deny?
I can't.
I've never actually heard that before.
No,
not that there's anything wrong if he does have roots with the travelling community, but I don't think he does.
It was certainly the first time I've ever heard that. But anyway, so that's what your theory is. They're loyal to their friends and family. Anybody would do it for their friends who are getting bullied.
No, they actually wouldn't. That's not why he did it. Grown men can stick up for themselves. They don't need people to excuse me, throw trolleys through buses if he's been bullied.
Now, Bernie.
Good morning, my dears.
Good morning, Bernie. How are you?
How are we?
Good, Bernie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Now, Bernie, Jeremy made up this story about some priest or some king in the
Some
nip.
priest in the nip.
Some king.
That's a completely different story, Adrian.
Okay, yeah.
I'll tell you that one another day, okay?
Some king going around in the nip. What's he talking about?
The Emperor's new clothes, wasn't it?
I've no idea. All I know is my parents instilled a lot of values in me when I was a child, and they used to tell me these stories with morals. Remember, they told me the story about... Remember the young fella that kept on going down to the hole?
Which one was that now?
He kept saying that he fell down the hole or something, didn't he? Or he was bitten by wolves, and then he wasn't bitten by wolves.
Oh, the boy who called wolf.
The boy who cried wolf, that's the story.
Yeah, cried wolf, yeah.
But this is a story about a king who was
I
naked.
think it's the Emperor's new clothes, Jeremy.
And somebody says, it's the king's new suit of clothes.
Maybe so, yeah. Could be.
And did I get the story pretty much spot on?
On target, yeah.
Jeremy's always on target, Adrian. So it was about a king who was mad.
Yeah. Went around in the nip.
And he went around in the nip.
Yeah.
And showing off his crown, Adrian.
Yeah,
showing off his crown,
yeah.
Yeah, do you like that?
Yeah, whatever.
And his consorts and all the men around him were... it wasn't the people, it was all his
chamber order.
Yeah, all the people who'd carry him around, they were terrified, and they'd be all going, Adrian, you better tell him he's naked. No, I'm terrified to tell him he's naked. And for that reason, the king was able to
have new clothes. Yeah.
I don't get this story at all. What's the point of the story?
The moral of the story is no matter how important somebody is in life, and no matter how big they are, Adrian, they are never too big to be taken down and told what you're doing is wrong.
Oh. That's it.
There you go.
Right, that's fantastic. So the Emperor's new clothes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you. How did we even come to talking about that?
Because that's what I was saying about Conor McGregor. He has surrounded himself by people who are afraid. Who are afraid to stick up for him. Anyway, that's the story with Conor.
DNA, it's who we are. There you go. Now, you've also a story for us about the fact that a huge percentage of Irish workers are suffering from sleep deprivation.
What?
Yeah, like coming into work after only having an hour or two sleep. I mean, who would do that?
Sorry?
Who would actually come into work after having minimal sleep?
Story in the paper today.
Yeah, go on.
I'm not tired of saying it. I'm wrecked. Story in the paper today reveals shocking figures of how many Irish people are actually going to work tired with sleep deprivation. Now, there are many of you listening to the show right now, I'm sure, who are in work, and maybe you are sleep deprived at the moment for whatever reason. It's saying that up to 80%, Adrian, of workers in the Irish industry are going to sleep deprived, or going to work deprived of sleep. A total of 8 out of 10 workers say that they are tired in work on a regular basis. Which is why I have a fridge full of Red Bull up at my desk, by the way. It gets me through the day, it really does. Now, I'm one of those people. There's often nights that I don't get a good night's sleep and I end up in work absolutely wrecked. But But there's obviously jobs where you can go asleep as opposed to ones where you can't go asleep, isn't it?
Really?
Well, like in this job, I couldn't go asleep now.
But you could go to sleep in half an hour.
Now, there is a man who used to work, or who still does work in this company, who regularly would take naps on his keyboard.
Really?
So he'd be typing away on his keyboard, yeah?
Yeah.
Type, and the next minute... yeah. And if you try to wake him up or whatever, you get very angry. Oh, don't wake me up. Your man.
Oh, who knew?
But by and large...
Sorry, you don't honestly believe there are jobs that you can have asleep?
Yes, I think there are. I know of certain jobs where you can actually have a sleep and get away with it.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98 with suggestions of jobs that you can actually fall asleep while you're while you're doing your job?
Well, in the middle of your work day that you can have, I can think of.
Well,
four.
name one.
A job where you can sleep.
Yeah.
Security guard in a hut.
At night?
Yeah. Those lads get, well, I'm not saying they all do, but they do get to sleep quite a bit. They do.
Sure, what's the point in having them there?
Yeah, but they're obviously doing it. They're doing it and the bosses don't know about it. If you are a security guard in a hut, I'm sure you've had... supposing you're working overnight, Adrian, 3 o'clock in the morning, you put the head down, have a sleep. Who's going to know?
Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98 with suggestions of jobs that you can have a sleep while you're...
Yes.
While you're doing your job.
What jobs can you go asleep and actually get away with it? Now, one that's actually statistically accurate, because I used to have it happen to me, school teachers.
School teachers?
Yes, in secondary school, our history teacher used to give us, he'd come in absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
And he would give us an assignment to do, like, he'd say, Dixon, write up...
I doubt he said that.
Well, but he'd say it to the whole class. No, he wouldn't pick me out. So he'd say, class, give me a 500-word essay on the Boer War.
And you start writing away and he'd fall asleep?
Yeah.
How weird. Okay, text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98 and suggest jobs that you can actually fall asleep while you're doing. I don't think many teachers actually fall asleep. I think that's ridiculous. I have one now. Pilots can fall asleep, especially long distance pilots who are flying from Dubai to Australia. They can have a little... in fact, I think they have to have a sleep on a long flight like that. Now, they're actually on duty, but they can go asleep. Yeah?
Articulated truck driver.
Yeah, but he's off duty. He pulls in.
Yeah, but in the middle of his work night, he can still pull over and have a sleep, can't he?
Yeah, but I think he's off duty. Text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98 with suggestions of jobs where you can actually have a sleep.
So far we have teacher and we have nighttime security guard.
And pilot. And a pilot. Will you get yourself sorted there, for God's sake?
I have a cough, I'm sorry.
Get yourself sorted. You got water, yeah. I drive a truck. And if I wanted to, I could pull in right now for an hour's sleep in the bed and get paid for it to make it even better. Isn't that great? Like, what would happen if I just decided to... We have a lovely beanbag over in the corner there.
Yep.
If I just decided to...
The show would improve 150%.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, keep your text coming in. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Apparently, Google's head office here in Dublin have sleep pods where you can literally get into it and close the door and have a little nap.
Now, in the middle of your workday?
Yeah, I would love us to have them. I think they're a great idea. Are you listening, boss?
And stop coming in with just your underpants on as well.
My primary school substitute teacher used to fall asleep on a daily basis.
This was a huge thing back in school. I can't believe you never had a teacher that went to sleep.
No, never. Never had a teacher who went to sleep. I would find it a little bit weird now, to be honest.
Well, what we used to do in school, it was actually quite rude, was when the history teacher would go to sleep. So he'd give us an essay on the Boer War and go to sleep, and he'd put his head down on his arms like that. And we'd... did you ever do this when you were in school? This is not to be encouraged, by the way. You get a big pen and blow things at them.
Now, somebody being really smart here. Lads, you could definitely go asleep if you were the Liverpool FC trophy cabinet cleaner, says Dave. Yeah, you're hilarious, Dave. Office staff working from home or remotely are able to have a sleep. Well, that's true, actually. If you're able to work from home, that would be very handy. And one more, taxi drivers sleep on the rank, says that message. Keep them coming in, 0877 98 98 98. It's 98FM's Dublin Talks for, what day is today? Oh, it's Monday, yes. How could we forget? It's the start of the week, and we're here until 12 o'clock. Now, here's a story I want to get your opinions on. A quarter of children aged 6 and under have a smartphone, with nearly half spending up to 21 hours a week on the device. Now, you did hear me right, by the way. I said a quarter of children aged 6 and under have a smartphone. With
these are Irish kids, by the way, are they?
These are Irish kids, yeah. Sorry, can somebody... This can't be right. That a quarter of children under the age of 6 have a smartphone.
Sorry, why do you find that hard to believe?
I just find it unbelievable.
And how long are they spending? The report actually says how long they're spending.
They're spending up to 21 hours a week on the device.
Which is what? That's
3 hours
a day. My God.
Yeah. Is there anybody listening to us right now whose child, let's even say under 8, has a smartphone? Because apparently a quarter of children aged 6 and under have a smartphone, with nearly half spending up to 21 hours a week on the device.
That's absolutely... Why does a 6-year-old need a phone? Why does a 7-year-old need a phone? Why does even an 8-year-old need a phone?
If somebody, if you have a child that has a smartphone, now I'm talking about a young child under the age of 8, I'd love to hear from you. In the survey, here's what it says, right? While the majority of parents in our study stated 11 was the acceptable age for children to have their own phone, 25% aged 6 and under already owned one.
That's absolutely madness. That's madness.
Is there one person listening to us now who has a child under 8 who has a smartphone?
Well, obviously there is. A quarter of the parents listening to the show now have a kid who's 6 and has a phone, yeah? Mm-hmm. That's not the point. The point is they're ashamed to admit that they do that. Because it's wrong.
That is unbelievable. I'm really shocked by that, I have to say.
Why would you? Why would you give your child
I've no idea.
That age?
I've no idea. If you are that parent, I'd love to hear from you. Call me on 6797981 or text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98.
Well, let's also ask people, okay? I think both myself and Adrian agree that 6 years of age is too young. Okay? What age do you think a child should get their first smartphone at? Yeah? So simply text the age to 0877 98 98 98. And I simply want to ask you this question. At what age do you think a child should get their first smartphone? Well, every phone is a smartphone now, pretty much. It's impossible to get a phone that's not a smartphone.
No, you can get a cheap, the Nokia 3310 or whatever it's called.
No kid wants a cheap Nokia phone. They want iPhones and stuff like that. The fact is, the 7-year-old's going around with better phones than I have at the moment. So what age do you think should be the age for a child to own their first phone? Be completely honest. Because if you are one of these parents that gave your 7 or 8-year-old a phone, shame on you. You should be disgusted with yourself. But what age do you think is the right age? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. I'd be very interested in the results of this to find out where people's heads are at.
So would I. Let's go back to, we were talking about jobs that you can sleep. Benner, you're on 98FM. How are you?
Good morning, lads. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Now, what job can you sleep on the job?
Well, what I tested was any position in government level. Let's face it, lads, most of them are asleep at the wheel.
I know, but I don't think it's an official part of the job that you can actually sleep.
Come on. Those lads get away with being asleep 90% of the time. In actual fact, you could see them most days on Dáil Air.
Yeah, no, in fact, I have seen Dáil debates on the television, and you can actually see some TDs actually asleep.
Moving away, the boys, all the shots with a cup of cocoa beside them,
Okay, politicians.
But I think that changed since they started televising the stuff.
No, I saw it on television. I can't remember who it was.
They still do it. They still go asleep. It's just, who the hell's going to give out to them? The only thing that wakens them is the guy with the dong.
Right, so politicians sleep on the job. Eva, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Eva.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Now, what job can you sleep on the job?
I think that's a night shift nurses.
Oh, a night shift nurse. Is she allowed? Are they allowed to sleep?
I think they're allowed because I used to work in a private clinic when they were doing plastic surgery. So the clients were fine. They were not sick. They were sleeping all night. So I've seen nurses sleeping in the kitchen and everywhere on their pillows. So
Yeah, but they deserve a bit of sleep, don't they?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. I think anybody who works overnight deserves a bit of sleep.
Are you a mother, Eva, by the way?
Eva.
Yeah, I am.
Eva.
Yeah.
Well, EVA is Eva.
It's Eva.
Oh, Eva. Does your child have a phone?
Yes.
And what age is your child?
14.
Oh, 14.
Okay.
And what age did your child first have a phone?
When she was starting secondary school.
Oh, okay, so about 12.
Yeah.
And what do you think of the fact that a quarter of children under the age of 6 have a smartphone?
Oh, that's terrifying. That's really terrifying. Really.
And, this is the bit I just can't
Well, let me read out a message there, Adrian.
Yeah, go on.
It's to keep an eye on kids, that's all.
How would you go way out of that? What do you mean keep an eye on kids? What sort of an answer is that?
Well, that's why you give a child a phone, so you can keep an eye on them, so you can ring them to see where they are.
Why a smartphone then? Why not just a cheap Nokia?
Well, what age were you when you had your first phone, Eva?
Oh, Jesus. That was back then. I think I was 15, 16.
Yeah, you see.
And that was very simple phone, like really no internet in it or something. It was barely sending any text messages.
So what do you make of these parents who are giving their 6-year-olds mobile phones?
I don't know.
Sorry, Jeremy, it's not that it's just mobile phones, it's that they're smartphones. You can get non-smart phones.
Yeah, but no kid is going to want a non-smart phone.
What choice should a 6-year-old have in the matter?
Absolutely none.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, that's scary to think. That's my young fella in 3 years.
Yeah.
There's not a hope he's getting him. You know what I'd do before I give him a mobile phone? I get it microchipped. Not the way they microchip dogs and cats.
You're going to get your child microchipped?
No, that's something that a lot of parents have considered before.
Getting their child microchipped?
I guarantee you've heard this first on 98 FM. I guarantee you, within 10 years' time, babies will be microchipped. Would you not, as a child, would you not want your child microchipped so you could search for them on GPS or something like that? Imagine your child having a microchip in their arm that if they went missing, you could go onto your computer and it'd come up on the radar. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, there's Johnny. He's in the city centre.
No, I think that's weird.
I'm telling you, microchipping, it's coming around.
Niall, what age should people have a smartphone? Should kids have a smartphone?
I reckon 13. Start like secondary school, first or second year.
Now, I would totally agree with you. I can't see any reason why they'd have one any younger than that. But when I hear and when I read that a quarter of children aged 6 and under have a smartphone, that's just unbelievable. Are you shocked by that?
I am shocked. It's disgraceful, to be honest. Like, at the end of the day, like, you have iPads and you have tablets and stuff like that to give kids for an hour or so a day, rather than giving them a mobile phone, which is a waste of money for starters, actually a smartphone.
Yeah, I'm really taken aback by that.
It'll lead into other things of other search histories on Google or YouTube and stuff like that, you know. Like,
now, a lot of people now would say you're old-fashioned, your attitude is outdated, you shouldn't even be on the radio, Niall. What would you say to that?
Well, I'm far from old-fashioned. I'm 31 years of age, so I'm not
Jeez, you sound about 60.
He does sound quite old, doesn't he?
Yeah, lad.
Are you really only 31?
Yeah, 31 years of age, yeah.
Oh my God, that's bizarre.
But anyway, so you're shocked as well to hear that amount of kids under the age of 6 have a smartphone?
Oh yeah, shocked. It's ridiculous, to be honest. Like, if you can't entertain your kids at 6 years of age, like, as a parent, you may forget about it. You have to give them a smartphone to entertain them. It's ridiculous.
Here's another statistic from this survey. 77% of parents confess to paying up to €575 for their child's first phone.
Ridiculous. Would you put a GPS chip in your child, Niall?
Nah, Jesus, no. You have to give them some sort of privacy when they get older.
Well, there's a company in America, I've just looked this up, that started up last year, Adrian. It's called WCRS Technology, and they basically will microchip your children. It says here, the chips will allow parents to keep close eye on children using GPS system. The children in the future will also be able to pay for food and drinks in school using the chip in their arm. So they put the microchip in their arm, and when they go into school to get their school dinners, beep, 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 they can pay for it with the microchip in their arm.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Robin!
Hello.
Robin, you think this attitude is for the Stone Ages?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the 21st century now.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi is everywhere. Kids have it everywhere. I mean, why not take the benefits of it and, criticise on the negatives of it?
How old is your child?
7.
And your child, I believe, has what? An iPod Touch?
He does. He has an iPod Touch, which more or less is a smartphone.
Yes, it is. It does everything bar make phone calls.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can actually call him because I have an Apple phone too. So we can FaceTime each other, we can call each other, we can send messages to each other.
Now, Robin, they're 250 quid a pop.
Yeah.
And you spent 250 quid on a 7-year-old's phone.
Yeah, it was for Christmas, I think, last year or the year before I got him, yeah.
So you got him this when he was 5?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, Christmas just gone, yeah? There was this thing called the Cosmo Robot. You ever heard of the Cosmo Robot? It was selling in Smith's there.
Right.
Over the Christmas, yeah? And you need a smartphone to use that robot. It's a toy, yeah? But you need to connect it to a smartphone in order to play with the Cosmo.
Yeah, but that's not why you bought him the phone, though, Robin.
Well, he can watch his Netflix through his smart television in his room. If he wants to watch movies, he can connect it to his PlayStation 4.
Okay, now, Robin, I don't want to give you a hard time, okay? But I've another issue with this as well, and I'm sorry for putting you up on it. A 7-year-old should not have a television in their room. Children shouldn't have TVs in their bedrooms.
Look.
Nothing.
I disagree with you on that.
Look, nothing. I'm sorry.
I disagree with you on that.
No, and I'm going to come down hard on this.
I mean, he still plays football. He still goes out and plays with his football team. He does swimming every weekend. I mean, it's not as if it's distracting him from his physical life. His active life, his sport life.
No.
And are you not worried about the dangers of your young child, your 7-year-old, having a smart device that can access the whole world?
Yeah, well, who doesn't at his same age? I mean, even if he didn't have one, he'd only be asking to use mine constantly.
Why does he need a television in his room, though?
Well, he doesn't need it, but I mean, I suppose it's the comfort from it. Like, he can do what he wants, watch what he wants, when he wants.
You're talking about a 7-year-old. He can do what he wants when he wants. No, he should be doing stuff. His TV time should be limited to.
As in appropriate age for him. I don't mean he can do whatever he wants and anything he wants. I mean, obviously, I monitor it. Obviously, I make sure that he's not. I mean, there's child-friendly YouTube, for example. He's only allowed access to the child-friendly YouTube. He's not allowed. He only has access to his kids' Netflix. Well,
let me read this message. Would you leave a porno on the table with your 12-year-old child and tell them not to look? They should never have access to the internet like this. What do you say to that person? Is that person in the Stone Ages as well?
Yeah, pretty much. They should be aware that there's, as I said, child-friendly YouTube, kids Netflix, appropriate games and stuff for kids to play. I mean, it's not as if he's in his room watching a fucking porno. Excuse my language.
Robin, would I be right in saying, and you can tell me to pee off if you want, but would I be right in saying that you would be the type of parent who wants to be your child's best friend, and you want to be all cool, and you want to be seen as the parent that gives your child everything you want, and that you're up to date with all the stuff? It just seems.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm a young mother. I had my son very young. I mean, I had Sean when I was 17. I'm 25 now. I have full-time working. Went to college, did all the things I was supposed to do. And I have the finance now to be able to give him what he wants when he wants. So,
but that's not being a parent. No, Robin, being a parent. I'm sorry, I'm going to sound very preachy here.
You are already. Just I can see it in your face. So
have I got a preachy face on me?
You're not going to lecture Robin on how to be a parent.
I'm just saying that being a parent is not about giving your child what they want when they want.
In your opinion.
I know
let me go back to the television in the rooms thing.
I feel very strongly about
this message just came in. Kids should not have TVs, PlayStations, etc. in their rooms. Bedrooms are for sleeping and for downtime. A book in the bedroom is okay. Computers and TVs should be in family rooms only.
Well, we do read. We do have book time as well. You know, you can actually read books through the iPod, believe it or not.
I'm just saying that you're going down because you've given your child a TV in his room at like whatever you was 6 years of age, yeah, when you gave him the TV, yeah.
Yeah, but he likes to listen to his sleep meditations at night time.
Yeah,
music, you know.
Yeah, you don't need a television. You don't need a television for that, Robin. What I'm saying is now that you've
you need a CD player. They don't sell CD players anymore. Well, they do, but you don't really find them much.
But what I'm saying is now that you've put a television in that child's room, you cannot take that out now. So that's stuck there. And when he has exam times, the television is going to be on. There's no need for a television to be on.
No, the television won't be on because I'll be there monitoring it, making sure that there's no television on. I mean, what's the harm if it's monitored?
Okay, but back to the phone thing. You think, get with the programme, get with the times. It's okay for a child of 7 to have a smart device.
To be honest with you, when he goes into secondary school, he's going to need access to the internet. He's going to need access. I mean, I know it myself. I'm only out of college 3 years. So I know myself how important it is to have internet so accessible.
Yeah, not at 6 or 7.
No, not at 6 or 7. But again, he's not on it 24 hours a day. He's in school right now. He doesn't have a phone with him.
Okay, stay there for a second. Joe, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Joe?
How are you doing, lads?
Joe, your 8-year-old daughter is looking for one.
She's making her communion in 4 weeks, and she says to me, only 2 weeks ago, she says, Dad, can I get a phone for my communion? All my friends are getting them.
And how do you feel about that?
Oh, no, straight away. No means no. Nope, no way. Now, my eldest fella, my young fella is 12. He's just got one for his confirmation. He's making confirmation Friday, so we got him an iPhone. He's restricted. He's not allowed to take it to school. He's not allowed to take it out and play with him. Mm-hmm. And he's restricted to an hour a night, either on that or the computer that's in his room. The kids have to be kids. The kids that are giving them this technology now, and they're growing up too fast. You know.
Okay, so
you're putting them out there too soon. They're not ready for it.
Okay, you said your daughter wants one for her communion. You've said a blank no.
Yeah, straight up, no. Now she plays Roblox on my phone when she's sitting beside me.
Right.
And that would be it. And then she has the iPad, which is allowed an hour a night, and she plays her games on that. And that would be it. But to have a child to have a phone like that, why would you put them out there? Why would you? Like, it's not called the World Wide Web for nothing, isn't it?
No, well, that's very true. Well, there you go, Robin. He can see no reason why a child would have a smart device like your child.
Look, it works for us. It may not work for everybody, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's not looking at anything he shouldn't be looking at. He doesn't have excessive amounts of time with it, nor any other device that he may have, PlayStation, television, whatever. So
show me a child that's not going to lie.
Sorry, say that again,
Joe.
Joe.
Show me a child that's not going to lie. Like, a child is not going to tell their mother everything, no matter how close your relationship is. That child is going to find things in that phone, realise they're wrong, and he's not going to say, well, look what I found, Mum. I'm at the finding this, and look at this, and look. No, he's not. Because the phone
he hasn't got the understanding yet to go and delete it.
He doesn't have to. It's there in front of him. He will find it. So. It's all there in front of him. He doesn't have to have the mentality for all that. It will appear in front of him. And that's the problem. You're not sitting looking over his shoulder for the full time that he's on that. You're saying you're monitoring it all right, but you're not sitting there beside him looking at the screen while he's looking at it.
As a matter of interest, Robin, have you any restrictions on the surfing on the iPod?
Oh, yeah, I do. Absolutely. Like, you have to.
Right, so you have
ways around it. These people are getting onto the kids' games now, and I think like they're hacking everything. Come on, you have to be a parent here and realise the dangers of the internet and what's going on the internet. They ways around it. If they can get into bank accounts, they can get into a child's game.
I know that there's
right
with the internet. No, of course you are. Absolutely, 100%.
Well, there you go.
Does that not concern you? Does that not worry you?
It does.
Oh, what do you mean? Yeah, totally.
But at the end of the day, I mean, nothing like that has happened so far. I mean, not.
How do you know it's not going to? Prevention is better than cure.
Eventually, anyway.
That's it.
So, Joe, your daughter who's making her communion wants a phone. You've said no. When can she have a phone? What age?
When she's mature enough. I have a 17-year-old daughter who was only allowed to go on Facebook last year because she wasn't mature enough. And I have an 18-year-old daughter who has been on it since she was 15 because she was mature enough.
Right, okay. So it's down to maturity.
Every child is different. You know what I mean?
But you would agree that no 6-year-old needs a phone, or no 7-year-old?
No 9-year-old needs no 10-year-old needs a phone.
Yeah, it's not as if they're going to be getting calls to you have a business meeting downtown.
Exactly.
You have to go for lunch.
They're going to be playing out in the road where you can see them. They're not going to be going off disappearing for 5 and 6 hours checking in. No, 12, yes, maybe, monitored. 14, 14, 15 is fine.
Okay, stay there for a second. Because, Neil, your 2 kids under 5 have phones, have they?
Yeah, pretty much. They've had a phone for about a year now. But it's to keep them... it's to keep them busy, like.
To keep them
busy? That's the way I do it. Like, they're both really active kids.
Right.
And, like...
And what sort of phones? What sort of phones do they have?
One old HTC and they're both HTCs basically.
But they're both smartphones.
They're like Samsungs.
But they're both smartphones.
Yeah, basically.
Android smartphones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you give them to keep them busy.
It's only at night for about an hour.
For about an hour.
Yeah. And then we watch The Simpsons or whatever. Then they go to bed.
Neil, can I explain something to you? And this is where I have to come in here because this is wrecking my head. Neil.
Yeah.
And I'm by no means the parent of the year.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not saying I am. But one of the worst things, and anybody will tell you this, one of the worst things you can do to a child is let them play anything that's going to get their mind active just before they go to bed.
Well, tell you this, right?
Like, do you not realise
they go
that?
to bed quite easily.
Hang on.
It doesn't take them an hour. It doesn't take me an hour to put my kids to bed.
Right, and again, Jeremy, stop lecturing people on how to be parents.
Exactly.
You put yourself
You're
out
so
there.
bad at that.
Yeah, you put yourself out as parent of the year. You're not.
Dixon, listen. And how old is your kid?
3.
3, right? And she's probably the easiest thing in the world.
Well, no, yeah? he has his moments, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, he has his moments.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have an easy... I feel I have a hard kid, right? Who's just... It's really hard to explain, but like... giving him the phone gives me time to get my energy back.
So
it's laziness. Okay, I get you now. Okay,
no. Why is it laziness?
Neil, I hate to tell you, you're actually losing your own argument here.
No, I'm not.
The worst thing you can do, and anybody, this isn't me, by the way, this isn't me being a child psychologist, the worst thing you can do for a child is let them play games before they go to bed where their mind is active, and you're only doing it because you want a bit of me time for yourself. That's selfish and that's lazy. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say on the matter.
Father of the year.
Yeah.
I hate when you start lecturing people on how to be parents. It really annoys me.
Why does it annoy you?
Because who are you to be lecturing other people on how they bring up their own children?
What's the point having a show then about debate if you can't debate?
But you patronisingly lecture people.
But do you not agree that that's a disgrace, his child having a phone at that age?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I do. But I'm not going to patronisingly lecture him over it. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. If you're in the city centre, you may have noticed... the Halfpenny Bridge with a huge banner supporting the Dubs. Some people aren't happy about it. We'll find out why in just a sec.
The sound of the city. 98FM's Dublin Talks.
Monday morning, I'm Adrian Kennedy, and this is 98FM's Dublin Talks every morning from 10 a.m. Now, right at this moment, there is a big disagreement going on in the city centre over a Dubs banner that has been placed on one of our most famous bridges. The Up the Dubs banner, which can be seen draped across the Halfpenny Bridge at the moment, is to be reviewed by the City Council, and several people have been speaking out about it, and against it, should I say, calling it an eyesore and saying that it has no place on a public monument like the Halfpenny Bridge. It's fitted to either side of the bridge and covers the railings end to end. Now, it's believed that the banner was erected for the Dubs appearance in the league final against Galway last Sunday. And it's supposed to have come down by now. However, it's still there over a week after the match. Now, one group on Tashka says the iconic and protected Halfpenny Bridge should not be concealed, never mind defaced, with any form of promotional material. Our reporter, Paul Quinn, went out and about down to the Halfpenny Bridge to find out what people thought of the banner on the bridge. Here's what they had to say.
She can't be doing that in this country anymore.
Just a bit of banter. Like, it's not destructing the bridge, is it? Not taking lumps out of it.
It's a bit of a celebration for the Dubs, you know what I mean? Like, they're showing their culture. That's it, like, you know?
It's not like they're changing the structural integrity of the Halfpenny Bridge. I think it's fine. I think it'll come back down and the Halfpenny Bridge will still be there.
I don't see any problem with it at all, no. Definitely not. As Rob said, there's no change to the structural integrity of the bridge or anything like that. It goes up for a short period of time and comes down. I agree with it.
I'm a Galwegian and they put up a big up Galway over the supermarkets in Eyre Square and there was a kerfuffle over that, but again, I see no issue with it.
Well, I can see both points of it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a big day for the Dubs. It's a celebration, like, you know. But I can also see the other end of it, like if tourists are here that you want to take photographs of the structure as well. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest with you.
Probably makes it look nicer.
Puts a bit of colour into it.
I know the Dubs.
All right, that was earlier on today, talking to people about the Dubs banner on the Halfpenny Bridge. Now, Independent Councillor Mannix Flynn joins me on the line. Mannix, you're not happy at all, even though, as you could hear from many of those people on the street, they don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, most people, as I say, like, pass by the bridge, you know what I mean, and they don't notice really what the issues are on that bridge. This has been going on for quite some time, and I'd like to say at the outset, this is not about the Dubs. It's not about the GAA, and it's not about the Dublin team. This is about an advertising banner being placed inappropriately on a national monument. It's wrong.
Well, it's not an advertising banner per se, Mannix. It's not advertising Heinz beans.
No, it's advertising. It's an advertising banner, okay? And the issue about the Dubs is not the issue here. The issue is that a plastic banner is strung right across an iconic bridge, which is a symbol of Dublin, and basically makes the bridge invisible. And while it doesn't interfere with the structure of the bridge, it certainly interferes with the integrity of the bridge as a cultural icon within the city. And it's absolutely wrong. You could put a similar banner like that on Liberty Hall, or you could even put a similar banner like that on civic offices where plenty of people could see it. But to simply put it on a national monument like that without any regard whatsoever, and it's tacky plastic nonsense, and it should be stopped. It's outrageous what they're doing here. And as I say, to tie the Dubs in on top of this is to bring disregard and disrespect to the Dubs team. They don't want to
how is it disregarding the Dubs team? Surely it is great for a city to get behind its amazing team.
Listen, we already know that the Dubs are behind the Dubs and behind the team. We don't need a tacky banner across the Halfpenny Bridge to bring the teams into disrepute. The teams didn't put this here. The GAA didn't put this here. Dublin City Council put this here.
And Mannix have done so several times over the last 5 or 6 years.
Absolutely, and Dublin City Council have been asked on many occasions to take it down. On this occasion, it was a step too far. The banner lay up onto the bridge for quite some time. On Tashka, also Dublin Civic Trust, objected to this situation. And if we don't do this, well, then we might as well actually just disregard all our national structures and all our protected structures and all our national...
Okay, now, my understanding is that the banner was to have come down by now. The league final was over a week ago. Are you saying that you don't want banners like this appearing on the Halfpenny Bridge ever again?
Absolutely, 100%.
Even if Dublin make it to the All-Ireland final again this year?
If Dublin make it to the All-Ireland final, there's banners all up along the Liffey, there's flags flying up all along the Liffey, there's huge cupboards on the national radio and television, there's plenty of places to put such banners within public view, like Liberty Hall, or even like
but not the Halfpenny Bridge. Okay, Mannix, do me a favour and stay with me for 1 second. I have to take a very quick break and I'll come back to you in just a moment. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 98.1. Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98FM's Dublin Talks. And Tricia's here with Monday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. The City Council's to review whether the Up to the Dubs banner should continue to be allowed on the Halfpenny Bridge. It's erected each time the boys in blue make a GAA final, but An Taisce says the iconic structure shouldn't be concealed behind any promotional material. Gardaí are waiting for a post-mortem to take place on the body of a man in his 50s 50s, found dead in Tyrrellstown. Detectives at Blanchardstown say he was discovered at his home in the Mount Eustace area at around 4:30 yesterday afternoon. They say results of the autopsy will determine how they investigate his death. Rape victims should have their evidence pre-recorded to save them trauma in the courtroom. That's according to a new report which says the move would protect vulnerable witnesses while offering a fair trial for defendants. And Arctic Monkeys have announced they're coming to Dublin for a gig later this year. They'll play the 3 Arena on September 24th. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 9 a.m. And now up to date on 98.
98 FM. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Monday morning. I hope everything is good with you today. I'm Adrian Kennedy and this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. We're in the middle of a conversation sparked by a debate that has been had over the weekend about a Dubs banner that is on the Halfpenny Bridge. Now, this is nothing new, it has to be said. Over the last number of years, and let's face it, Dublin have been in an awful lot of All-Ireland finals over the last number of years. And most years when that has happened, the Halfpenny Bridge has been used to basically promote the Dublin team and to let the Dublin team know that the city is behind them. The banner that is there at this moment says Dublin City supporting the Dubs, and it says up the Dubs, and it's draped across the entire length of the Halfpenny Bridge on both sides. And we've been hearing from Councillor Mannix Flynn how he is totally against this, not against the Dublin team or anything like that, but totally against a structure like the Halfpenny Bridge being used for this purpose. I'm also joined on the line by independent councillor Christy Burke. Christy, you've heard what Mannix had to say, that let's support the Dubs by all means, but not use a national monument like the Halfpenny Bridge to display a banner like this.
Well, thanks, Adrian. Look, at the end of the day, the Dublin supporters this morning on the Hill 16 page are very upset that there's complaints about the banner. The banner is doing no harm. We all respect the integrity of the bridge, and we know how iconic it is. And, if you look at O'Connell Bridge, there's people on it every day taking photographs of up the Dubs. At the end of the day, there's more important issues out there. There's people waiting on appointments this morning in hospitals, waiting on operations. There's people looking for homes. There's people housing in the housing department today trying to get homes, and homeless personnel. I'm a Dublin supporter. No,
obviously, sorry, Christy, obviously there are more important things to deal with, but this is an issue for some people. They believe that using a structure like the Halfpenny Bridge is not appropriate. And, we have tourists in the city, they want to take photographs of the Halfpenny Bridge, and all they're doing is taking a photograph of a glorified advert.
Well, look, it's up the Dubs, and, we need to support our teams. We've been, this is our 4th year going into an All-Ireland, hopefully, and it's doing no harm. You heard your box pop there earlier on. Let's get on with it. Let's leave it up the Dubs. I know the Hill 16 page this morning are looking for a banner on every bridge if we reach the All-Ireland, and I've had numerous people on to me this morning, and indeed last week in Croke Park at the Dublin-Galway game, people were saying, well done to the City Council, great job on the Halfpenny Bridge. So I haven't heard anybody complain, apart from Natasha and Councillor Flynn. Like, if you put a plebiscite out there, Adrian, I guarantee you that it would come back, leave the banner. What about it? It's highlighting, it's illuminating, it's promoting the Dubs, it's supporting our team, and it's great to do so. I don't know if Mannix goes to Hill 16 or goes to Croke Park when the Dubs are playing, but you wouldn't be very popular by asking to take down an up the Dubs banner.
Okay, but one of the points, and I'll bring Mannix back in the conversation in a second, one of the points that he made was there are many other locations around Dublin for putting a banner like this. The Halfpenny Bridge should not be used for that purpose.
But look, there's loads of play. Have a look at Ballybock, Adrian, when we put the murals up last year. It has highlighted, it's transformed, and it's terrific. And there's tourists and people coming every day to take photographs. It's on the Halfpenny Bridge. It's not damaging it. It's not interfering with the integrity. It goes up and it comes down. There's nobody there's no headstones over it. There's nobody really annoyed about it, apart from Mannix and Antoshka. And really and truly, I'm a Dublin supporter. I'm sure Mannix is.
He's already said he is. Let me bring Mannix back in again. Mannix, firstly, there are more important things to be dealing with, and it's doing no harm whatsoever.
Well, look, we deal with all the issues in the City Council and we deal with important issues. And the fact that we have this on the agenda today and we're dealing with it on the national radios doesn't indicate that we are not actually doing our job in relation to people on trolleys or homeless individuals. This is not about the Dubs. It's not about the team. This is about a banner across an iconic structure. So, look, I'm a big supporter of the Dubs. And as I say, like, this is not about that. This is about, a banner, whatever kind of a banner there is. This happens to be supporting the Dublin team, but it's a banner across an iconic bridge that basically makes that bridge invisible. This is tacky, is what this is. And no one can take a photograph on that particular bridge. And I respect the Dublin supporters, entirely respect the Dublin supporters, but they also have to respect the integrity of the bridge and the integrity of the national monument.
As Christy said, it's not affecting in any way the integrity of the bridge because it'll be coming back down again.
It completely isn't affected because it vanishes the bridge. You cannot see the bridge. Would you do this? Would you wrap a plastic banner around Dáil Éireann? Would you wrap a plastic banner around the Bank of Ireland? Would you wrap a plastic banner around Trinity College? No, you wouldn't. And would you leave it up there, inappropriately? Absolutely not. You wouldn't do this. As I said, there are plenty of places for a banner of this nature to be there. And this is Dublin City Council supporting the Dublin team. And I just think they need to be much more imaginative to do this. I'm 100% behind the Dublin team, 100% behind the GAA. They do fantastic work. But I don't think that this kind of advertisement from Dublin City Council, by the way, this is not the GAA or the fans. This is Dublin City Council made a terrible error here. This is not, delivered by the fans.
Sorry, Mannix, is it that this one, unlike previous banners that have been on the Halfpenny Bridge, is actually a lot larger than previous ones, in that it takes up the whole bridge?
No, it was the same size and there was complaints back then, but the banner was taken down rather quickly. Now it's been left lying up there for quite some time, so this made the whole situation more irate. And I'm not the only person that would object to this situation. Like, it's not just, we're not in isolation, myself and Natasha and the Dublin Civic Trust. Many people would complain to me about this. I mean, we'll try and deal with this without the glare of the media. It so happened that over the weekend it got into the glare of the media. But this is an ongoing issue within the city where such banners are placed up onto protected structures and buildings, and Dublin City Council are obliged to take them down. In this instance, Dublin City Council breaches its own rules and regulations and sticks this tacky plastic banner up on a beautiful bridge and brings everybody into disrepute. And again, I say I complete support to Dubs. This thing is not about supporting the Dubs or about demonising the Dubs. This is about a simple tacky banner that's been strung across an absolutely beautiful bridge.
Okay, Christy, this is
a visual pollutant as well.
Yeah, Christy, this is a tacky banner across a beautiful bridge.
Well, look, here's the story. I'm proposing that we put it back up if Dublin reach the All-Ireland final. It's not tacky. It's out there.
It's a tacky, Christy, you know and I know. It's a tacky bridge. It's a tacky bridge. And you're completely out of step and jumping on the bandwagon and trying to make yourself be an attack on the Dubs.
Sorry, hang on. I can't hear both of you. Sorry, Christy.
It's not about the Dubs.
Okay, hang on, Mannix, for 1 second. Christy, make the point you were trying to make there. Go on.
Yeah, Adrian, Mannix that are having his airtime as usual, and now he wants to interrupt me. Well, he won't be doing that. Now, let me tell you this. I will be supporting the continuation of that banner on the Halfpenny Bridge, along with the Dublin supporters. And if you want to really be democratic about it, carry out a plebiscite and you'll get your answer, Mannix.
Okay, Mannix, let me just deal with it.
It's an ignorant banner on an iconic structure which breaches
Okay, let me put this to you. And in fact, we're going to be running an opinion poll in a couple of minutes to find out whether people support it or not.
But it's not about people. This is about a breach of the law. You can't have a situation, and this is not an attack on the Dubs.
Well,
this is not about the
jail, Mannix. We're breaking the law.
You're always on the way to jail, Christy. You're always on the way to jail or the way out of jail. You're a hero. You just stop talking nonsense and talk some sense.
Mannix, I'm not moaning over the banner.
Talk sense.
Get a lunch and up
talk sense, Christy. You're talking
nonsense,
nonsense. You've been talking nonsense for years, Christy.
The Lord Mayor of Dublin supports. The Lord Mayor of Dublin supports that we need it there.
Hundreds of Lord Mayors of Dublin, Christy, and they wouldn't damage a bridge like this.
Okay, but hang on, Mannix, the bridge hasn't been damaged. Let's make that perfectly clear.
Because it becomes a visual pollutant when you string across a tacky plastic banner across it. It becomes damaged. It becomes invisible.
Okay, if this were a permanent thing, I think people would understand and would agree with you, but it's not. It's there for a week.
This is tacky plastic.
Exactly. across an iconic
structure, and it's wrong. Would you string such a banner around the Garden of Remembrance? You would not. So here's what you have. You have a situation here where Dublin City Council is in breach of its own law. And again, I'd say, Adrian, this is no disrespect to the fans of Dublin football team. It's no disrespect to the team itself with the GAA. This is just simply wrong. And unfortunately, it's brought the Dubs into a disrepute because of the certain comments.
I don't see how it has brought the Dubs into disrepute.
Well, because basically what's happening here, he's trying to make it out to be a fan situation. He's trying to... Christy Burke is trying to make it out to be an attack on the Dubs when it's not. We're trying to protect the bridge. We're trying to protect the bridge. It's not an attack on the Dubs.
It's an attack on the Dubs.
It's not an attack on the Dubs. Go back to school and learn about culture and about iconic structures. What you need to do. It's not an attack. Okay, Christy, it's not
the answer to everything, but the solution to nothing on this one.
There you go again, personalising the situation, Christy. I mean, really, cop on.
Mannix, you're the leader of the independent group. If you put to the group tonight, 99% of them would support the banner.
Okay, Mannix, you will... no, this banner was due to come down last week. It most likely will be taken down today or tomorrow.
It's down already.
It is gone down. Yeah, it is down. Yeah, okay.
The City Council realised their error. That's why they took it.
No, the league game is over, Mannix. We beat Galway last Sunday.
The City Council, that's all fantastic news, and I love it, and I love the Dubs, but the banner I don't love. End of story.
Okay, so hang on for a second. Christy, you said a couple of minutes ago that should Dublin reach the All-Ireland final again this year, you will be proposing that banner be put back up again.
I told the city manager this morning I'd like to see it back up if we reach the All-Ireland final.
But you will be objecting to it, Mannix?
Absolutely, yeah. Without question.
Councillors Mannix Flynn and Christy Burke, thanks very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM. We would like to hear from you right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. How do you feel about using the Halfpenny Bridge for displaying a banner like that? If you haven't seen the banner, it's on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. I'm being told that it is now gone. It was due to come down last week, so it was a delay taking it down, but it has now been removed from the bridge. But should it be put back up, and should the Halfpenny Bridge be used like that for supporting the Dubs? Should it be put back up in August? Should, hopefully, fingers crossed, Dublin reach yet another All-Ireland final? Should that banner be put back up? I'd love to hear from you. 6797 981. Connor, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. Hiya, Connor.
How you doing, Adrian?
Connor, what do you think of the use of the Halfpenny Bridge for displaying banners supporting the Dubs?
Oh, I'm the Dub, 110% behind it. I don't understand what the Mannix Flynn fella's on about. To me, he's like a victim elder. I mean, for the council to come on the radio and start moaning and giving out about banners going across the bridge. I mean, sure, there's more pressing issues that he could be dealing with.
And we've already put that to him, that there are more important issues, but...
Adrian, sorry, I've been off your phone. I'm in work, so I haven't been listening to the last few callers,
Okay, but what Mannix Flynn is basically saying is that it is an inappropriate use of an iconic structure like the Halfpenny Bridge. That people visit Dublin to see the Halfpenny Bridge, to take photographs of it, blah, 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 and sure they can't when there's a big banner right across it.
But Adrian, there's banners all over the country. Any time that the country teams are playing in Croke Park, I mean, there's banners all across motorways and all that, and they're left up there for months. You know what I mean? And there's actually still banners around the country that are still up there. They're up there months. Mannix just want to go and get a life for himself. He's the same even at Apollo House. He's slating the good work that was done on Apollo House. He's just a victim elder.
So you obviously believe that it should be put back up should Dublin reach the All-Ireland final this year?
Absolutely, should be more than put up. I mean, if you look, go down. If Mannix, I don't know whether you're familiar with Ballybock, go down to Ballybock and look at all the murals around the wall, the permanent murals along the wall down there.
They actually look great. Yeah, they look great.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. It's ludicrous that you have a councillor wasting his time to go on the radio and moan about a bloody banner, and he's supposed to be a dub himself.
The point he's making, though, is there are many other locations we could use, but not the Halfpenny Bridge.
The more the better. Put them up all over the city.
Okay, stay there for 1 second. Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. I want to run a Dublin Talks text poll. And here is the question, and we will pass the results of this poll on to both of our councillor friends who were on there a couple of minutes ago, Mannix Flynn and Christy Burke. Here is the question. That banner is now down off the Halfpenny Bridge, okay? It was meant to come down last week. But here's the question we want to ask. Should Dublin City Council put this banner back up on the Halfpenny Bridge should Dublin reach the All-Ireland final this year? I want you to text the word yes or the word no to 0877 98 98 98. So the question once again is... should Dublin reach the All-Ireland final again this year, should Dublin City Council put that banner back up on the Halfpenny Bridge? Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Okay, simple as that. Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Councillor Christy Burke claimed that if there were a vote on this, the majority of people would be in favour of the Halfpenny Bridge being used like this. And that's what we want to find out. So text the word yes or the word no to 0877 98 98 98. Should Dublin reach the All-Ireland final again this year, should Dublin City Council put that banner back up on the Halfpenny Bridge? That's all I want you to answer. Yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. And if you've never voted in one of our text polls before, please do, because we will pass it on to the City Council. We're meeting later on today to debate this, and we'll let them know what public opinion is. Laura, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Laura.
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Laura, you agree with Councillor Mannix-Flynn that this is an inappropriate use of the Halfpenny Bridge?
I agree with him to an extent. I think he's right in saying that having it up for a week is way too long. I think maybe the weekend before a big game is fine, but I think the Halfpenny Bridge is one of the most iconic structures we have in the city. And I work in tourism, and in every city tour, for every tourist that will come over, the Halfpenny Bridge is always featured. So I think...
I mean, you say featured in that it's a stop for people to take photographs and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And, tour guides talk about it. And, it is one of the most beautiful structures we have, I think, in the city.
I know, but when the Dubs banner is on the Halfpenny Bridge, sure, the tour guide just has to explain when that goes up every now and again when the Dublin team do really well.
Totally. But if you went to New York for the very first time and the Statue of Liberty was covered with a banner saying "Up the Yankees" and you couldn't see it properly, would you not be a bit disappointed that you couldn't get the picture?
Perhaps, yes.
My point is, I think the weekend of the game is fine, because usually people come here and they're here for more than a weekend. But I think if you're here for a week and that banner is up for the whole week, I think it's too long. And I think, I'm not opposed to a banner going up. There's so many other bridges in the city that they could put a banner up on and leave it up for as long as they want, and it's not going to interfere with anybody. And actually, I'm just after driving down the quays, and I was listening to you as I was driving in, and I counted approximately 20 people standing around the bridge just now on a Monday morning taking photographs of it. So it's not that I'm opposed to a banner going up. I just think on such an iconic structure like the Halfpenny Bridge, having it up for a week after the game, it's not even in the lead up to the game, it's after the game, I think it's not right.
Okay, but Conor, what do you say to that? That, it is, and she's right in saying, Laura's right in saying that, when people come to Dublin, you see them from O'Connell Bridge taking photographs of the Halfpenny Bridge. It's one of those things you take photographs of when you visit Dublin, and it's kind of ruined by this banner, or these banners.
Well, Adrian, come here, you can't make an omelet without breaking an egg. There's two types of people in this world, the ones that moan and the ones that don't moan. Fair play to that girl. I drove a taxi for a number of years in the Dublin city centre, and not once have I ever seen 20 people stood at the Halfpenny Bridge taking photographs. I'm sure you haven't either. You probably, yeah, but have you seen 20 people on a Monday morning taking photographs at Halfpenny Bridge? I've never seen it.
No. Not in the city centre on a Monday morning.
Fair play for driving and counting them at their heads as well. Very observant.
Okay,
but Adrian, listen, Adrian.
Yeah, go on.
Adrian, I have to go because I'm actually in work at the moment.
All right, good man. Thanks.
Okay,
bye. Sorry, Laura, say that again.
I was going to say, first of all, I said approximately 20 people. I obviously didn't stand there and count them, but there's 4 sides to a bridge, 2 sides on each side of the river, and there was about 4 or 5 people on either side, and you can glance that. So it's not that was an outrageous number to make. What I'm saying is, that's not even including the people who are on other bridges taking pictures. It is an iconic feature of the city, and it's one of the few really iconic features that we have internationally. It's one of the things that is always used it's one of the photographs that's always used in promoting the city. And I think for the weekend of a game, it's fine to have it. But if they're going to leave it up for so long, then I think it should be put up somewhere else where it can be left up and it's not going to upset anybody.
And, I mean, like you said, people do take photographs of it. I'm just actually, as I'm talking to you, looking at my own phone. And in my own phone, I have about 10 different pictures that I've taken of the Halfpenny Bridge over the last couple of years. So, yes, I agree with you. But one of the pictures that I took of the Halfpenny Bridge would have been back in 2013. And it was a photograph of Up the Dubs, Dublin City supporting the Dubs, which was up back in 2013. So, yeah, I just don't see how having it up for... Maybe it was left up a bit too long this time. But when you're visiting Dublin, you want to see Dublin. And if you're a tourist visiting Dublin, you'll be happy to see that, will you not?
Well, think of it, if the shoe was on the other foot. If you went to somewhere that you'd never been before, and there was a landmark in that city that you'd heard about and you'd seen pictures of, and you wanted to get your photograph on it, and then you came there and there was a big banner of a local team and you couldn't get a proper picture of it. And if you had saved up to come to the city, or this was your one big holiday a year, and there's obviously only a few certain highlights in the city where you really want to get a picture, and if it was covered in a banner for a whole week, so fair enough if you go there for a weekend and it was there and then you can come back a few days later, but if it was covered up for a whole week and you couldn't get your photograph, would you not be a little disappointed?
Perhaps. Okay, we'll stay there for 1 second. Andrew, if you visit Dublin and you want to get a photograph of the Halfpenny Bridge, you'd be very disappointed if it was covered in a Up the Dubs banner for a whole week.
I probably would be, yeah, but you're not just coming to Dublin. You don't just fly all the way to Dublin just to take a picture of a bridge.
No, you probably don't.
It's part of a tour, maybe, so you take a picture of it. There's plenty of other places to see. Fair enough, there's a banner on it, but Dublin City Council supporting the Dubs, I don't see anything wrong with that. I really don't.
Do you think that a mountain has been made out of a molehill here?
Definitely. And Mannix, he's given out about the banner being up on it, but if there was an election on or something, we'd have to look at banners and posters all over Dublin for weeks with his face on it and stuff.
You may have to, yes.
Where would the problem be with that? He wouldn't have a problem with that at all because he'd want to get elected. But he has a problem with a banner that's up for a week. Give me a break.
I agree with you on that point as well, and I think that the election posters are an even bigger eyesore. But the election posters are put up on lampposts, typically. They're not.
Yeah, but lampposts on streets that you're walking, iconic streets in Dublin that you're walking down, you don't want to be looking at that.
No, you don't, and I don't like.
The same thing, and they're up for weeks, and you don't hear people moaning about them.
I think the posters are an absolute waste of money. They're a waste of people's time. They're a waste of everything. I don't think there's any benefit in those election posters. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I think there's so many other structures or so many other places where they could put up a banner, and I'm not opposed to a banner being put up, and I'm totally not opposed to the city getting behind their team. Like, as I said, I'm from Dublin myself. I support the Dubs. But where I think is if a banner is going to be placed up for so long, just even move it to the next bridge down, to the Millennium Bridge or whatever the next bridge down is, and let it stay up there. And then it can stay up there all summer and not upset anybody. But it's the fact that the Halfpenny Bridge is such an iconic structure, when it's completely
But maybe
covered,
that's why it's done. Because it's such an iconic structure that everybody comes to see it, and you see this banner up the Dubs, and it's, it's nice to see that your city is following the Gaelic team. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, but as somebody just texted in a second ago, if I went to Paris and there was an Allez les Bleus banner covering the Eiffel Tower, I wouldn't be happy. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't.
True.
if you have people, if you as you're saying, people are coming to see the Halfpenny Bridge, and it's nice to have the banner there, so they see the banner. Put it on the next bridge down, because if they're coming to see the Halfpenny Bridge, they'll still see the banner. So then they're getting the best of both worlds.
All right,
no. It should be put up maybe just for the weekend that the game is on, and then taken down again. Maybe
All right, stay there for a second. I will just bring in one last call, and then I'll give you the results of our poll, where we were asking you if Dublin reached the All-Ireland final again this year, should the City Council put that banner back up again? Sarah, you're on 98 FM. How are you? Oh, Siraj, how are you?
How you doing? How are things?
Good, thank you. What did you want to say?
No, I just think I agree with that lady. I just think I'm a big, huge Dubs fan, as kind of before I got started, but I think it should be just up literally for a weekend, and then that's it. I've also sent in a photograph to yourself. I don't know if you can see yourself on that, Adrian.
Let me see. I'll see. Try and find it now. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, but basically, that's a photograph I've actually taken of the Halfpenny Bridge as I was walking by of a quiet winter's night when the sun was setting, and there's a beautiful photograph as well of me taking of the Halfpenny Bridge. Do you know what I mean?
Ah, yes, I see it. Yes, I see your photograph. Lovely picture, actually. In fact, I have one in my own phone almost identical to that picture. The point being, we all love the Halfpenny Bridge, and we all love to take photographs of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even when festivals or whatever, Paddy's Day coming up and whatnot, or even in we are in our parades, up on the lamppost all the way down the quays, they actually have the little small banners that they can actually put up high on the lamppost. And maybe we can even put them onto them as well, rather than just kind of robbing away from the Halfpenny Bridge. Okay, so you have no problem with banners being put up in support of the Dubs, but maybe not on the Halfpenny Bridge. Yeah. Okay, all right. We ran a Dublin Talks text poll where we asked you, should Dublin reach the All-Ireland final in September? Should the City Council put that banner back up on the Halfpenny Bridge? It's been taken down now, but should they put it back up again? 75% of you said yes. 75% said yes. 25% of you saying no. So in terms of opinion polling, that's a fairly sizable majority in favour of it being put back up again. Maybe, perhaps, not for so long. And I think the reason there's controversy this time is that whoever's responsible didn't take it down last week. It was meant to come down last week. The league final was long since over, and it should have been taken down, but it wasn't. And maybe that's what's led to people even noticing it. Should it be put back up in September? Should we reach the All-Ireland final? 75% of you have said yes. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. We're here until midday today. Now, next on the programme, here's a question for you. How would you feel about pregnant women being forced to take tests during their pregnancy to make sure they're not consuming alcohol? As a woman, would you be happy to take this test? With over 80% of Irish women admitting that they have drank alcohol during their first pregnancy, medical experts are now saying it's time to bring in screening. Now, this was the big story over the weekend, and it's annoyed an awful lot of people, mainly women, obviously. Pregnant women in Ireland should be screened for alcohol consumption during pregnancy, according to doctors. It follows figures that show Ireland is in the top 3 countries worldwide for incidence of fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, including fetal alcohol syndrome. Top doctor Mary O'Mahony, a public health specialist, has now proposed screening all pregnant women, saying women need to own the public health imperative that pregnancy be alcohol-free to prevent fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. The goal is to ensure that every woman's pregnancy is supported to be free from alcohol to prevent this sort of danger. I would love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98.
98FM's Dublin Talks.
With Des Kelly Interiors, where quality costs less. For carpets, wood floors, beds and mattresses. 98FM.
I have a question for you, especially for women. How would you feel about being forced to take a test during your pregnancy to make sure that you're not consuming alcohol? With over 80% of Irish women admitting that they have drank alcohol during their first pregnancy, medical experts are now saying it's time to bring in screening. Women, according to Dr. Mary O'Mahony, women need to own the public health imperative that pregnancy be alcohol-free to prevent fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. The goal is to ensure that every woman's pregnancy is supported to be free from alcohol. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. Michael, you're on Dublin's 98FM. Hiya, Michael.
Not too bad.
Your argument on this, her body, her choice.
Well, if women can have abortions, sure, can't they drink during pregnancy as well?
They can. I'm sure there's no law that will physically prevent them from doing so. But if they are screened for alcohol, they can be advised on the dangers of it.
Well, women are saying that it's their body there, right? Like, what are you going to do, lock them up?
No, I wouldn't think you're going to be able to lock them up. I can't see that going down terribly well.
Well, what's the point of it then?
To screen women, find out if they're drinking alcohol, and if they are, to advise them strongly against it. What this doctor said is the goal is to ensure that every woman's pregnancy is supported to be free from alcohol.
Sure, if she's drinking, she already knows that. She doesn't need to be told. Do you know what I mean? She knows to drink. Anyone that have a brain knows drinking during pregnancy is bad. So why would you need to be told?
So a woman should be able to do what she wants to do. If she wants to drink while she's pregnant and risk fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, that's her own business, is it?
Well, look, women are fighting for the right to have abortions. So why? What's the difference?
Okay, stay there for a second. Then Lisa, a woman's body, a woman's choice. If she wants to have a drink when she's pregnant, who are we to try and tell her not to?
No, I totally agree with that. It's just the fact that, I mean, all them years ago, I remember them having Guinness to help their babies. Now, my point is...
That was specifically for iron, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I do get that, but some women might have an odd glass of wine as a spritzer. I never did when I was pregnant. But what I'm saying is, if this woman is saying that why aren't they, what's the word I'm looking for? Why don't they do this on the drugs? Women on drugs.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean? Why not? Why just do it on alcohol? Why not do it with the drugs as well? That's my point.
Perhaps because women drinking is more widespread. 80% of Irish women admitted that they've drank alcohol during their first pregnancy. I would imagine it's maybe 1% of women have taken heroin when they're pregnant, or maybe less.
Yeah, I get that. But, I mean, as that chap said, it is up to the individual woman. Like, having one or two is different than completely drinking bottles of vodka every day. Do you know what I mean? But I do believe that it is a woman's choice, but it can be held, it can be...
What do you think of the idea of screening women? I
don't think that's right.
It's an invasion of privacy, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I find it is. Now, when I didn't drink or smoke when I was pregnant, I gave it up straight away. I still don't drink. I might have an odd cigarette, but yeah, no, I think that's a complete invasion of privacy. And if it's up to the woman herself, if she wants to go for that, fair enough.
Okay, so the reason you would be against it is it's an invasion of privacy, and it's a woman's right to choose, basically.
Absolutely.
Stay there for a second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98. Danielle, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Danielle.
Hiya, how are you?
Good, thank you. What do you think of this, screening women to see if they're drinking alcohol when they're pregnant?
I think it does have a good idea behind it. I think at the end of the day, it is a woman's personal choice, but I know everybody's going to jump on the bandwagon of, you could say they can have an abortion or that. If they're going to have a baby full term, you want to protect your baby. I think any mother or father would want to protect their baby as best they can. I know things happen anyway when you follow the rules by the book, and things can happen anyway. But I just think, why would you purposely, like that lady was saying, why would you purposely overdrink or, they say like half a glass of Guinness or something is good for you or whatever. I was saying there that I had a drink on New Year's before I even knew I was pregnant, and I did have quite a lot. And as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I felt like already the worst mother in the world, and I haven't even had my baby. But from the minute I knew I was pregnant, I had stopped. That kind of way. I wouldn't do it knowing that I was pregnant. I wasn't trying, so it wasn't that I was trying and I was off everything anyway. It was just that it happened, and I had drinks. And the minute I found out, I stopped. And I think that, again, like everything, how would you go about it? Like, would you screen them and if they're gotten over a certain level? Because they do say, like, isn't there some truth? No, maybe I'm wrong. As in, like a small glass of Guinness out of frosting is good, or is that just an old wives' tale? I don't know. But I didn't do it, and I just think that you want to protect the baby from the get-go, so why would you bother anyway? That's my attitude.
Okay,
so
and a lot of women decide not to drink while they're pregnant, and that's fair enough. But what about the idea of screening women? As that lady said a couple of minutes ago, Lisa, she feels it's an invasion of your privacy.
Yeah, I get that too to a certain extent, but then again, like Lisa said, she didn't drink, so I'm sure Lisa probably take the privacy bit out of it. She wouldn't have a hand bother getting it done because she's one of the ones, and me too, that wouldn't drink, so nothing would show up anyway. Do you know what I mean? But they're, like she said about the drugs, they're about excessive alcohol. You know, you are going to take that risk. Like I said, things can happen when you follow the book, but you're adding to that, you know, by taking the drink.
Okay, if a woman chooses to drink while she is pregnant, is it anyone's business?
I suppose not, but then, you know, if it's anybody's business, whether a parent slaps a child, but now you can't. So why should you let someone drink alcohol that's going to harm the child in that way?
Do me a favour, stay on the line there for 1 second if you can, please, Danielle. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98. Nobody knows, says this message, that they're pregnant till around 5 or 6 weeks. I was well oiled on both pregnancies at early stages, and every woman is the same. In other words, she didn't know she was pregnant and she was out getting drunk. I'd love to hear from you. Call me right now on 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98. Expectant mothers could soon be tested for alcohol because of new figures showing that 80% of Irish women admitted that they drank alcohol during their first pregnancy. Medical experts say it has to stop. We're back in just a moment. Good morning, I'm Adrian. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks every day from 10 till midday on 98FM. Now, we're in the middle of a conversation. Here's a shocking figure now, I have to say. I'm a little bit taken aback by this. 80% of Irish women have admitted that they have drank alcohol during their first pregnancy. And this has led to calls by medical experts to bring in screening for women. Here's what's been said. Pregnant women in Ireland should be screened for alcohol consumption during pregnancy. It follows figures that show Ireland is in the top 3 countries worldwide for incidence of fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. Number in the top 3 of countries in the whole world that where babies are born with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. That's because their mammies are drinking when they're pregnant. One public health specialist, Mary O'Mahony, said, we need to own the public health imperative that pregnancy be alcohol-free to prevent fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. The goal is to ensure that every woman's pregnancy is supported to be free from alcohol. Angela, why do you get angry over this?
Because it's alcohol. Because whatever you take into your body, it goes into the baby. So, do you know what I mean? If you have a newborn baby, you're not going to give it any alcohol. So why do it while you're pregnant? The risk is so high. And
I didn't realise that we were in the top 3 countries in the world where babies are born with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. That's quite shocking, actually.
I didn't know that either, and it is very sad. Like, okay, listen, I can't have kids, but if I was, I wouldn't go near a drink. You know, I'm not a big drinker anyway, but I wouldn't go near a drink. I wouldn't touch it. And all this thing of, the odd glass of Guinness because it's got iron in it. I'm sorry, it's got alcohol in it. I don't care what else is in it. It's got alcohol in it. So any mother out there who drinks during pregnancy is an absolute disgrace. And doesn't give a continental crap about their child.
And what do you think? Well, yeah, I was going to say, should it be illegal? But how could you possibly make it illegal for a woman to drink when she's pregnant? That would be very difficult to enforce.
I think it would be very difficult to police it, as they say. Of course, yeah. Unless you've somebody in a bar ringing, going, "Your one down there is having a drink," you know. But I think I think, I suppose you can't go down the road of testing them. You have to go in every week to see if you had any alcohol.
Well, that's exactly what's being talked about here. Screening pregnant women for consumption of alcohol. Now, obviously, if they're screened and they're found to be consuming alcohol, you can't turn around and say, don't do that again. Well, you can say that. You can say that, but you can't enforce it. But, okay, so there's a woman listening to us right now, and she's pregnant. She's 3 or 4 months pregnant, but she drinks every weekend. What do you say to that woman, Angela?
Stop drinking. You're an absolute disgrace to your child and to your family.
You're a disgrace to your child and your family.
Yeah. It's absolutely sick, because everyone knows whatever you do during a pregnancy, it affects your child. I mean, if you go along and take drugs, while you're pregnant, I guarantee you a woman sitting there who is having a drink would turn her nose up at someone who is sitting there and shoving cocaine up her nose if she was pregnant as well. What's the difference?
Okay, stay there. If you are a woman who is pregnant or has been pregnant and you drank alcohol during your pregnancy, shame on you. That's really what you're saying, Angela.
Yeah, basically.
Stay there for a second. Would you agree with her? Shame on you if you drink alcohol while you're pregnant? 80% of Irish mothers admitted that they drank alcohol during their first pregnancy. 80%. Sorry, Angela, are you shocked by that figure?
I'm shocked it's so high. I'm very shocked it's so high. I'm absolutely not shocked at women who do drink during pregnancy, but I'm very shocked at how high it is. But then, you look at alcohol in this country, as a whole. I think a lot of people's consumption of alcohol. Now, I'm not saying I'm an angel. I went out the weekend and, but I'm not a big drinker like every single weekend, every single night. Like there's people out there who will, sit down and have 1 or 2 glasses of wine every single night. And I know of a girl who actually drank practically throughout their whole pregnancy. And I was just sick to my stomach over it. And these people who turn around and say, I'll have a glass of wine and water it down with 7-Up. No, it's still alcohol. It's still alcohol.
Okay, stay there for a second. Let me go to Peter. You're on 98 FM, Peter. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
You don't see a problem with a woman having the odd glass of wine or a little bit of alcohol?
No, I don't indeed. The reason being is because if they're used to having a good sup of drinks, say, like this country, we enjoy our drink. But if they were to have a good sup of drink each week, then they fall pregnant, and then when you don't have a drink, the body goes into shock, It's like anything. If you don't have it, if you're after being doing it for long enough, and then you don't do it, the body goes into shock,
Yeah, if you're a regular drinker. So as long as she cuts down, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but don't see a problem having a drink. So look at back when my mother was having me, they drank, they smoke,
Yeah.
There was never a problem. Well, look at I'm 30 years of age and I don't have a problem,
And that's fine, but you're not going to be having a baby anytime soon, or at least giving birth to a baby anytime soon.
But I have 3 kids as well, and my partner had the odd drink and she smoked, but not my kids. My other 3 healthy kids,
Well, now there you go, Angela. That is one of the arguments. I had kids and they're grand.
Well, my whole thing with that is if somebody is basically has a drink that often and their body goes into shock when they're pregnant and doesn't have a drink, then they've 2 problems. One, they have a drink problem, and 2, they're going to pass that on to a child.
When you hear figures, Peter, like the fact that we have the highest instance in the world, well, in the top 3 countries in the world, of babies being born with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, that's a little bit worrying, isn't it?
Yeah, no, of course it is, yeah.
So
you look at figures like that, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
But, how many out of, how many out of 10 is that, how many kids out of 100 is that, it's probably only...
But that doesn't matter if you turn around...
Say it's 10 to, say it's 1 to 100,000, population of 5 million is still only, I know it's...
That's still one child. That is still one child who was born with that. That's the worst attitude I've ever heard of somebody with saying, oh, well, listen, if it's only 1 in 100,000, then it's grand. What?
So look, come here. Kids are born every day with something wrong with them, you know, like, so...
But the kids, what they are saying with this is... No, hold on a second now. What they are saying is, if there is one child in 100,000 born with this, because that mother drank during her pregnancy, that's not like a child being born with Down syndrome. That's not like a child being born with medical conditions that hasn't been contributed by the mother. That is saying that mother drinking is the fault of that child's happiness. So turning around and saying 1 in 100,000, that is an absolute disgrace.
It's not a disgrace, because it'd be different if it was like 100 out of 100,000. It's not.
It's still too many. I mean, the point is, Peter, should we not... I know there's nothing you can do. You can't make it illegal for women to drink when they're pregnant. But shouldn't we make it very socially unacceptable for women to drink when they're pregnant? Very frowned upon.
Look, you see women falling out bulbs locked out of head.
I only saw them about 2 or 3 weeks ago, yeah.
8 months
ago. Peter, is your name Peter?
It doesn't matter what we do or what we say or whatever, you had a vote or whatever, people are still going to do it.
But can I ask you a question, right? You say you have 3 kids. 3 lovely, healthy kids, and I'm happy for you with that. If your first child was born with this, because your partner or your wife drank, what would you do with the next child? Would you let her drink again?
Look, I'm not in that position to give that answer. But
no, but well, you are.
Are you in that position, yeah?
No, I'm not. But what I'm saying is I can damn well tell you, if that happened to me, I wouldn't be drinking on the second child. But you're saying that, you let him have a few drinks anyway. But let's say if that happens to your child, your first child...
As I'm saying to you, the body's used to the drink. There's nobody going to stop it, you know. The body goes into shock. It's like anything. It's like people on drugs. They stop it when they're pregnant. Like you see junkies walking down the road and they're heavily pregnant. They have beautiful kids. You know, it's just an awful thing that it does happen 1 in 100,000, say. It is an awful thing. But look...
But is that a chance that you would let your partner take?
Look, my partner had a drink.
Pardon?
I said that. My partner had a drink when she was pregnant. My partner had
yeah, so it's like, okay, listen, she had a drink on the first one, so that mightn't happen the second one. I mean, come on.
She had a drink on all
How much did she drink as a matter of interest, Peter?
Well, if I got a few on the weekend, she'd have a couple of bottles of liquor, like, you know.
And you don't... It obviously didn't do the babies any harm, is your point?
Yeah, look, come here. As I said to you, it doesn't matter what you do. You can be the cleanest person through your whole pregnancy. Look, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen, you know. I know it's a horrible thing to say, but we can't decide what's going to happen during pregnancy. It happens,
but
you know.
But the thing is, you can't, if it's your fault.
It doesn't matter whether you drink or you don't drink. I know when you're talking about that, the true alcohol, but I'm saying it doesn't matter what way you go on in pregnancy. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Well, yeah, but it can be made worse by drinking. That's the point. Let me go to Adam. You're on 98 FM. Hi, Adam.
Hi. I think Peter, you know, his parents, when they had him, you know, that was a long time ago. The technology we have now, we can, you know, now find out, you know, what causes, you know, the effects of alcohol.
Yes.
And as time goes on, and technology gets better and better, we're going to find out more and more. But I think when a woman has a baby in her tummy, you know, she's obligated to give that baby the best health it can have. And
yeah, obligated, but you certainly can't force her.
I know you can't force them and, you know, drink here or there, but, you know, you should shame a mother that's, you know, pouring alcohol down through it every week. And if that baby's born with defects and someone knew that mother was drinking...
So you think that women who drink when pregnant should be, publicly shamed?
Yeah, I mean, you know, what we know now, I don't know how much, I know the scientists are slowly proving that, you know, drinking causes defects in babies, so why not, you know?
Let's stay there for a second. Pat, we should publicly shame women who drink when they're pregnant.
No. I mean, I know you shouldn't do it. But you can't stop people doing what they want to do. It's totally impossible.
I mean, that is a fact, Adam. You can't actually stop a woman drinking when she's pregnant.
I know you can't stop anyone doing anything, but I mean, it's 2018. Definitely kids that grow up today and have babies now, like my generation and, the generation after, we know what alcohol does to a baby.
In other words, we're much more
aware.
Yes, much more educated as to the dangers that women should be shamed into not drinking.
Yeah, not really shamed. I mean, that's a bit harsh, but definitely someone.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, but I understand how a woman can have a drink here and there, and and maybe not be educated, but definitely shame some woman who's getting a carton of beer every week and sitting at her flat.
You obviously believe, Pat, that it is a woman's right to do whatever she wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that's in the next what we're doing for the abortion thing, it's a woman's right to do what you want to do.
Well, what about the baby's right? That baby, is now a person. What that baby?
And I don't agree with the woman drinking. The constitutional vote we're going to have is to give the woman the right to do what she wants to do as well. So you're going to put a vote in to say stop women drinking.
No, you can't do that. Of course you can't. It couldn't be enforced either. But a lot of people believe that we need to make it socially unacceptable for pregnant women to drink. Anyway, thank you very much, Steve, for your call. Thank you, all of you, for your calls. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. If you've something you want to bring up on the programme, send us an email, dublintalks@98fm.com, or send us a private message on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. We're back with you again, 10 o'clock in the morning. Barry Dunn is on the way in just a moment. And in the next hour, some great music lined up like these.
Don't be afraid to catch feels. 98FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors, where quality costs less. For carpets, wood floors, beds and mattresses.